tuned into InvisiYouth Chat Sessions, a video podcast series. Our episode starts right now. Here's your host, Dominique Viel.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the InvisiYouth Chat Sessions, where you can check in for your dose of humor-filling, stigma-breaking, motivation-loving life hacks and motivational tips for all of the medically adultish people in life. I'm Dominique Viel, founder of InvisiYouth Charity and host of InvisiYouth Chat Sessions, and today is Season 3B, Episode 38, and today is very different because I will not be introducing a guest. It is a solo episode with just me today. Don't let that deter any of you guys to pause your videos or pause your audio. This is going to be a fun episode from start to finish. No, I'm just not interviewing myself because that could be quite boring, but it will be an episode that will be quite intellectually quirky, I would like to say. We are going to be deep diving into so many different topics and questions that we have gotten in our DMs, that I've gotten from volunteers and medical staff throughout the years, pretty much going through all of the obscure, random, but most discussed, but not publicly discussed topics and questions that come from the chronic illness and disability space, and also you guys getting to know me a bit better. So you'll get to have some fun questions that have been brought up to get to know the sort of 28-year-old founder, 12-year chronic illness veteran that I am. And fun fact for the episode, though, is that I have not been able to see any of these questions or topics ahead of time. They were all selected and gathered by my team. So we have had questions from volunteers, past and present, previous and current global brand leaders of ours in our leadership program. We've had our board members, people who've worked with me, and some of the most DM'd questions we've gotten as well. So these are all anonymous, so I will have no idea who sent them to us and what these questions are. So it will definitely be interesting and fun for me. I have lots of papers and notes that were handed to me this morning before we started, and I'm excited to kind of dive deep into a plethora of questions and topics that were submitted by all of you, and to have a lot of fun, and you guys get to know me, and yeah, a bunch of advice and teaching moments, as you know I like to do in more of a fun, slightly sarcastic way. So this will be very entertaining. It will still be in staple InvisiYouth Chat Session form with some segments, so you'll definitely still get the feel that you know and love of our chat show. And we're going to jump right into our first segment, which is getting to know me some more, which is Rapid Fire Roundup.
Rapid Fire Round.
All right, guys, this is very weird to be having questions I have to rapidly ask myself and answer, but we will see how this goes. You guys are going to get to know me. As many of you know, I'm obviously the founder and executive director of InvisiYouth, but I don't answer many questions when it comes to myself besides the bio we have on our website. So these will be very fun, entertaining questions, I guess, about myself that I guess people have wanted to ask me. So let's get into it. All right. Favorite nickname or most hated nickname you have for yourself? Oh, okay. Favorite nickname is going to be Mickey. My sister gave that to me. She's 18 months older than me. When I came home from the hospital, Erica couldn't pronounce Dominique, as most 18-month-olds can't. So she just kept saying Mickey, and the family nickname stuck. So my parents and sister and my brother-in-law call me Mickey, which I quite like. And I don't have a nickname I don't like. I have one that was probably the most weird. When I played tennis in high school, my teammates all called me Elmo. That was because we had very weird looking old school 80s tennis uniforms that made us look quite odd. And because I'm quite short as well, everybody thought I looked really adorable and said I looked like Elmo. So I take it as a compliment. It might not have been, but for me, it was a compliment. So yeah, it was probably the weirdest one I've gotten over the years. Let's see, best guilty pleasure activity or TV show of yours? Oh, so many. I hate the word guilty pleasure, because, I'm not guilty for it, but I love a good Christmas movie. We're getting into the season. I do skip over Halloween and Thanksgiving movies. Yes, I am that person that if you are watching on our YouTube channel right now, you can see the really lovely autumnal decor behind me a little bit with the twinkle lights. And I have my favorite kind of red Chevy pickup truck decor, but I do love a Hallmark Christmas movie, Lifetime, uplifting network, Netflix. You find it if it's Christmas adjacent, holiday adjacent, a good Hanukkah holiday movie, I will watch it all. I love holiday movies. Since college, that's what I would watch at 1 a.m. writing term papers. Best food you like to make versus what you like to eat. Oh, okay. So cooking, I like cooking in general. Anything Italian, I'll cook. I'm more of a baker. So we have chocolate chip cheesecakes. That would be definitely the recipe I like to make or to bake the most. Okay, what if I could get another university degree? What would it be? Okay, well, for those who don't know, I have 2 BAs in English writing and international relations, which is kind of a culmination of economics, sociology, history, and politics. So I do like my majors. They do come in handy with InvisiYouth, but I mean, I'm going to be really boring and an adult and say finance would have been a wonderful background to have. To do some accounting would have been lovely. And I think it would have been nice to enjoy numbers more than I did. I liked calculus, but yeah, finance. I would have said something in financials would have been a nice additional degree to have. I'll go with that one. Best advice you've gotten from a fellow chronic illness individual. Ooh, I'll say a couple. I had one of our guests who's also a friend of mine, and she's done work with us. Sophie Grace Holmes is a cystic fibrosis activist and a fitness trainer in the UK. And she gave quite a long explanation in one of our episodes we did with her at the end of season 2 that talked about how she really enjoys failure and the benefits of failing and why it's probably one of her favorite activities or results to happen from when she tries things. So that was probably a great piece of advice, was to find a way to enjoy failing, because obviously running any business, but then also running InvisiYouth, you tend to run into situations where you don't always succeed all the time. First interaction with someone who was chronically ill. Oh, okay. Well, I actually never met anyone with a chronic illness or disability until I launched InvisiYouth. That is one of the main reasons why I wanted to start InvisiYouth and make sure it was virtual, because I knew I never had the opportunity to meet anyone with an illness until I started InvisiYouth. And the first person who interacted with me was a friend of mine virtually, was Claire Weiland, who was a wonderful friend and a cystic fibrosis activist. She was my first major follow on our Instagram and our Twitter account. Yeah, so Claire would be our first one. Dream podcast guests. All right. Oh, so many. You should see our list of people and list of people coming up. But if I go A-list, I'm gonna go Selena Gomez or BTS. Sounds like basic reasons, but Selena Gomez for her ability to discuss chronic illness and mental health. Also, she's built her own beauty brand, which gives back to mental health nonprofits. So I love people who take their health experiences and expand on it. I think I would love to see her do an interview where she really gets to talk about her health, because it tends to be bits and drabs of questions. And BTS, for multiple reasons, obviously like their music quite a bit, but they do a lot of casual activism and fundraising, which I think is really beneficial for other young people to learn how to do and where that stems from. I think they do it really well. So I'd love to kind of have to talk to them about that side of things. Favorite Halloween costume. Oh, okay. I'm not a big Halloween person. I get scared very easily. The running joke is if I know someone's in the house, even if they walk into the room, I scream because I get startled and scared quite easily. So, when I was like 3, I dressed up as a sunflower. That's that little costume of me in pink with petals around my face is popping up in my head. I thought it was quite cute. What superhero trait would I want to have? Oh man. Oh, superhero. What superpower would I want? Um, Teleportation seems probably the best. I would probably go teleportation. Other things I would be mind reading. I would worry about what I would hear. And flying seems great, but then it's probably colder. And that's where my logic pops in. I'm like, oh, the elevation's probably too cold. So I'll go teleportation. Um, Oh man, favorite book I've ever read. Oh my God, that's like picking a favorite child, guys. Like I said, I was an English major and I write novels, so that is, oh man. Well, the first book that ever made me cry in a good and bad and sad way was The Outsiders. So I will go with that. And that was also by a author who was under 30. So I love that, having young authors. Quick pick me up. Uh, I mean, my Italian will be showing. I love a good cuddle. My family and friends know I will jump for people to hug me all the time. I love hugs and cuddles, so that's a constant. Um, and last one, what is your favorite part about running InvisiYouth charity? Um, oh my God, there's so many things I love about running this charity. I always say, even if it gives you the biggest stress, I love knowing that what we're doing is making other people feel good on their day to day, that we're not there to bring research for illness recovery, or we're not sending you to Disney, but we're making just your day to day better. So to me, finding ways to just make life more fun for other people just satisfies me in such a big way, kind of builds my philanthropist heart repetitively all the time. So yeah, definitely the small things of that really do make me love InvisiYouth quite a bit. So yeah, I'll do that. Aw. Well, that was fun, everybody. I got stressed out for no reason. All right, so now I know everybody, we all got to know a little bit about me as the host of the podcast, but then also as the founder of InvisiYouth. And a big thing of that is because I'm sort of the pulse point. My experience with chronic illness built InvisiYouth, gave me my soul, my kind of, as I always say, my dark, sarcastic humor really feeds into the stem of how InvisiYouth runs, and our programming is very, as I like to say, subtle activism driven and very realistic in our positivity. So for that, we really love providing those feel-good resources, those interactive, independent resources. And one of the best ways to help a charity like ours is subscribing. And you can do that by going on any audio podcast platform you're listening on currently. Download it, please, while you're listening. Hit the subscribe button on any audio platform you're on, like Spotify or Apple or Google. If you're on our YouTube channel, please subscribe as well. And while I'm going to give you 16 seconds to do that while we play our very first quick commercial for our YouTube channel.
Hey, go click InvisiYouth Charities channel. You're not only helping our nonprofit that supports young people with chronic illnesses and disabilities, but you are getting access to all of our fun resources, like our monthly video podcast show, InvisiYouth Chat Sessions. So hit subscribe.
And we're back. Wasn't that super quick? I do quick commercials when I'm by myself, guys. So now our next portion of the show is I'm going to be doing our next segment, which is all about the best theories from InvisiYouth Charity, and that's going to be Health Hack Moments.
Health Hack Moments.
Health hack moments, we all know that there's so many different perspectives on life improvement. That's the biggest thing for InvisiYouth. And if you've been listening to the InvisiYouth Chat Sessions, if you've been to our events, if you've gone on our website and read our resources, you know we're major fans about providing InvisiYouth Theories. and those being tools you can use and interact with to build in your day to be better and to thrive and succeed in your way. So while this sounds like I'm about to be a teacher and teach you some things, it won't be boring, I promise. Think of me as like a substitute teacher that's trying to be a bit cool, wants to have fun and make her one lesson she brings to the day entertaining. That's what I'll be doing. So this entire segment, I have 3 questions. I got 3 cards for this one, and they will all be asking questions where I will get to be talking about InvisiYouth theories that we have come up with over the years. And first special announcement, we'll have 2 in the episode that I'm going to get to announce, but the first one is that starting in 2022, you will be getting digital resources of our InvisiYouth theories and our mindset theories every month will be available, whether on our audio podcast or it will be on our website as digital resources. So you'll be getting to see more of these theories for you to use and save and download all year. So I'm excited about that. So let's go into question number 1. Okay. What's the most universal piece of advice InvisiYouth gives to young people navigating life and those scenarios with illness and disability? All right. I mean, we have a lot of theories. I'm going to say probably the best InvisiYouth theory, the most interactive, and the one that tends to be interchanged into a lot of situations is also the first theory I ever came up with and named. So I will say it's the faucet theory. Yes, that's faucet, like water coming out of a faucet. So yeah, faucet theory, I would say, is probably the best. That one really is pretty much as it seems. What our mindset with faucet theory is that you can change the amount of water that is being released from a faucet yourself. You're in charge of how little of it is dripping versus full power pressure of water coming out. And by you being in charge of that, it's the critical sort of element of it. So there are so many scenarios where people always will ask questions, whether it's my friends are asking questions about my illness or disability. I don't know how much I want to tell them, especially if you're newly dating people or you're casually dating, you're on the apps, you don't know how much to share about your medical needs as well. I don't know how much to tell them versus how little is too little. Even just for yourself personally, I don't know how much energy to use during my work week when I have things scheduled at different points, or I don't know how aggressively to push for these different treatment plans when I'm with doctors. That's where faucet theory will always say is like the mindset to come in, is those are moments where you can really turn the pressure up and down of the amount of information you're going to be giving at different points. If you're more private, you'll be more towards the slower drip of water. If you're more free with your information, you don't mind answering questions about yourself or your illness or disability, you can release more water and more information. So it's really about when you're in those predicaments where your first reaction is I'm not sure how much to divulge on different topics, or how much energy to use, or how much to advocate. You really just go back and think of that mindset of a faucet and go, where and what level of pressure am I the most comfortable with? What speed, what amount am I most comfortable with revealing? And then also knowing that you can change your pressure of your faucet on every single person or situation. So I would say my favorite's probably faucet theory, and it's the most, like I said, most interchangeable for sure. All right, number 2. Do you have any theories that foodies would love? All right. Well, this seems like a very specific question because people who work with us at InvisiYouth know I tend to name a lot of things after food or recipes because I love cooking and baking. So I feel slightly called out by this question. I can think of about 5 different theories we have named after foods. I'm not going to name all of them, but the first one that came into my mind is our theory called the dinner chocolate mindset. Yes, I said dinner and chocolate together. So we're thinking that chocolate is typically used in very sweet desserts, but you can also use chocolate in like a really great steak sauce. What? I know. So it's really that ability to have opposing views of your own illness and disability so that it manifests in a positive perspective, or things that happen from your illness or disability, you're able to have a dual perspective or use from them. So like chocolate being used in desserts and savory dinners, finding that dinner chocolate in your own illness and disability situation is critical to kind of switching a negative connotation to positive. So a prime example for that with me is with my nerve damage issues. I will tend to have very cold extremities on my left side. My hand, my arm, my left leg, and my foot tend to be a lot colder than my right. So that's physically uncomfortable for me, but at times I've now learned to kind of make it a benefit for myself and other people. I also have a lot of neurological symptoms where I'll have nerve pain through my neck and head, and an ice pack can be beneficial. So in those moments, I'll use my own hand or foot as my own ice pack. My family and friends know this as well. I'm sort of the commuter ice pack, if you will. I will constantly be the one they'll say, hey, my neck hurts, I hurt my arm or my wrist, and they'll just kind of move my hand or my foot over and ask for the perpetual cold limb. So it's like that. It's remembering the dinner chocolate in those moments. It's remembering that those sort of self-hating, those negative commentary internally, that sad, more negative inner dialogue, it's finding the dinner chocolate out of those things. It's finding the sweetness out of those things. So if you're feeling that negative narrative into your own illness or disability or elements of it, try to figure out where are there positives that you can manifest from it. So where can you find that dinner chocolate would definitely be one of the foodie theories we have. And the other one that comes to mind right away is Swiss cheese as a life theory. We call it the Swiss cheese life theory. A lot of hospitals use this as well, and they use they use the same food as well. It's not just Dominique and InvisiYouth that use food as theory names. But yeah, Swiss cheese, they'll use it for metaphors in terms of catching system errors. So obviously, if you've never seen Swiss cheese has holes throughout it. So if you are in situations, things can slip through the cracks, slip through the holes, and fall all the way through. So what you really want to do is set up layers of Swiss cheese so that there can hopefully be areas without holes that will block the problems and errors from falling all the way through. And so you layer up as many different layers of Swiss cheese as you can for yourself so that hopefully all of those holes will provide barriers among one another. And this is really key when it comes to situations with chronic illness or disability, and definitely just in general, to try to create foolproof situations for error. So I know a big example I can use for this would be, for me, is I have a lot of short-term memory loss, word retrieval, recall because of my nervous system issues neurologically. So my mom is not only a wonderful nurse and my best friend, but she's also sort of my medical dictionary, my medical history, my medical proxy, and she's with me at appointments. So we've learned to not only have my mom with me at appointments so I don't forget things that doctors are asking or forget symptoms or issues I'm dealing with, treatments that I'm going through. My mom will also be there to help answer questions. We're writing down notes. Sometimes if doctors tell me that we're having calls, she'll also be there to help dictate those. Often now I request emails after if I'm doing a treatment just to double check what I'm doing to make sure I'm not misinterpreting or forgetting something. And so that's really important because I'm adding all of these layers of Swiss cheese because there's so many holes that could become a problem for my own health if I'm forgetting different treatments or situations for my illnesses. So this is something that we've done because I've had so many issues in the earlier years of my illnesses, that by forgetting those things, you're really dealing with sort of the negative side effects of your illness, and then also not having proper treatment from them. So that's where having all of these situations and barriers and more Swiss cheese added up, those holes are sort of countering one another and blocking each other. Does it suck that you need to do all of this extra work and add all of these layers of Swiss cheese? 100%. That's not discrediting that. It's just realizing that you setting up all of these layers of Swiss cheese really provides you level of success. So I will say Swiss cheese. There's about like 5 or 6 others as well, but I'm not going to go into a food tangent because we have one more theory question that was given to me. So last theory question: what is a theory from InvisiYouth for the allies or supporters or even doctors that they can use? Well, the one that I started out InvisiYouth, which when I would do speeches at children's hospitals and speak to new employees at their orientations, it was the why effect. Basically, the value of asking why for people with chronic illnesses and disability, especially if you are chronically ill or disabled and you're a young adult. There's so many reasons behind actions, behind decisions of not wanting treatments or medications or not going to different referrals, because as you age into your illnesses or disability, especially as a teen or young adult, you have more things going on outside of the epicenter of your illness. You're dealing with school, activities, sports, friends, dating, family, jobs. So there's so many reasons that as you're in a doctor's appointment and they're listing off treatment plans or medical procedures or prescriptions, you're starting to think of all of the ways that one decision will then affect other elements of your life. And it's super important for family members and friends, for romantic partners, for doctors and nurses to be able to gauge the reaction of a patient and then ask the question, why? That's really critical. It's also really critical for young people to divulge a little bit when you're asked the why. You don't have to say everything of your reasons. A lot of it is more personal choices that you have to make, but definitely ask those questions. Why is really important. We'll always say the key phrase is you need to compromise on the perfect, in air quotes, medical plan without compromising your health. So it's really about finding the sweet spot of compromise of where can you guys meet in the middle or meet in certain areas that you're gaining a little bit of what you need for your emotional well-being, your lifestyle quality while you're dealing with your medical quality. So that's really, really important for allies and supporters to get really good at, is always following up and asking, well, why don't you want to do this treatment? Or why are you not wanting to go to physical therapy or going to talk therapy? So it's really important to think of the why effect and repetitively want to ask that question and to answer it as well. So the why effect is probably my favorite theory to give to other individuals that are supporters and allies. It's very, very important for everybody. And that's the end of the theory portion of the this episode. But before I end class, I have one more lesson to teach all of you, and that is that all of these mindset theories, all of our resources that will now be downloadable, are coming out of the InvisiYouth Chat Sessions and also other programs and resources we provide by having a nonprofit where everything is provided for free for the teens and young adults internationally who are living with chronic illness and disability, and using our resources to help them succeed and thrive in life. So your donations, we have a link popping up. If you're on our YouTube channel, you can see it. If you're listening as well, it's in the description box of every episode. Your donations really do matter. We're going to have that popping up for you. If you can make a donation, if you can send the donation link for others to help support our nonprofit, that means so much to us. It really does help us, especially since, sneak peek of new spoiler number 2, you are now going to be getting 2 audio podcast episodes every single month. We will still be keeping InvisiYouth Chat Sessions monthly as our fiery chat show with our special guests every single month, but you will now also be getting a second audio podcast episode with just me, which is a 15-minute or less episode every single month, which is going to be giving you fact drips of information, of motivation. It will be soothing, relaxing, and a lot of fun, just with me giving you some megabytes of empowerment that will just fuel your soul to feel so good about ways you can improve your day to day. I'm super excited. That will also be coming out in 2022, but we need those donations and subscribers to help us achieve those things. So if you can, all of those links are below, and that's super appreciative of us. And now that we reached the midway point, we get to go to everyone's favorite segment, but now it's going to be my time to tell you guys a story. We are going to So That One Time.
So that one time.
So that one time is when our guests usually tell us a life story, but today you're going to get one from me. So like I told you guys at the top of the show, I have had a chronic illness for over 12 years, so I'm definitely a veteran. Once you hit double digits, you get veteran status. I feel like we should all get a button. So there's so many stories to pick from. I'm going to go through what I would like to call my university secret life I had. As people who know me personally know that I was exceptionally private when it came to my chronic illness. I still definitely am. I don't really talk about the ins and outs and specifics of chronic illness life with many people. That has been me just being a very private person, also just my experiences with chronic illness, and my friend network and around me. So I, ironically, running a nonprofit based on my chronic illness journey, to have a very secretive point of view on my illnesses was interesting, and seems quite odd to people that I built an entire nonprofit based on my chronic illnesses, but I don't really talk about the ins and outs of mine. So in university, I obviously was chronically ill. I had gotten injured right before I turned 16. So all throughout university, I was dealing with chronic illnesses, but all of my treatments were scheduled on weekends or during mornings. So I would either go and drive into the cities. I went to school in Philadelphia at St. Joseph's University. So I would either drive into the city and go see doctors, or on weekends, pretty much 90% of weekends, I was getting picked up and brought home and going to doctors and acupuncture treatments and going through my sort of medical regrouping and check-in every weekend, which I couldn't really do living in a house with a lot of other girls, or living on campus. So anytime people would ask to do work or projects or hang out on weekends or grab coffee or breakfast in the morning, I always had no real answer to why I was never available. I just always said I was out of town, or I was having to do work. It was, oh, I'm working, or, oh, I have to go out of town, or I have to go back home. And there was never really an explanation. I just kind of always brushed it off and was very aloof. I never really wanted people knowing I was going back for health reasons, because I always felt that different treatments were personal to me and what I was going through. And it wasn't a big deal on that end, but I didn't realize that my friends during university were very confused where I was. So it was about a year or two into school that one of my friends, luckily, was bold enough to pull me aside and went, you know, all of our friends just randomly wonder where you are. Like, do you have a job? Are you dating somebody out of the state? Like, what is going do you have a like one of my friends joked they thought I had a husband and a child and I just wasn't telling anybody, that I had a job already that I wasn't telling anyone about because I was always missing and disappearing without much explanation. So I kind of casually mentioned that I had to go back for health reasons back home. I didn't say anything that would allude that it was a chronic illness. It just seemed like at moments I needed doctors. And it wasn't until I went to a political science lecture. I was actually at CHOP as a patient in the morning. Then I got redressed out of my patient clothes into my public speaker clothes, gave a speech at their new employee orientation and did a Q&A with their new staff coming in. That ran late and I was rushing to go to my lecture. My mom dropped me off. I kind of bolted in. Bolted is an interesting way of putting it. I kind of slowly hobbled because I was dealing with neurological issues in my leg at the time. So I kind of hobbled in. What I didn't realize is I still had my hospital bracelet on. And I kind of quickly entered the side door of the lecture hall, scurried into a desk, sat down, didn't realize my hospital bracelet was still on. And the class had already started. My professor came over and the lecture hall kind of echoed a little bit and she asked, "Oh my God, how was the hospital? How are you feeling?" Oh man, you love those moments where people out you in the public. And I just kind of looked and she pointed to my wrist and I saw the bracelet and I was like, oh no, I'm not going to get out of this. And I was like, oh, everything went fine. It went fine. I'm good. I feel fine. And at that point then I kind of gave the Cliff Note version to my friends because a group of them all came over and stood at my desk and were like, yeah, you just sometimes don't feel well. Like our professor seemed a little bit in on your health issues and knew a bit more than we did. So what's up? So so that definitely was interesting to get outed in the lecture hall that you are a patient and that your secret life will always sort of be found out. Even years later, people from college have found out about my chronic illnesses and were like, is that where you were all these weekends that we wanted to hang out and see you and at night we couldn't see you? It's like, yeah, there it was. I was balancing. So moral of that story is, like faucet theory, I always gave a very little drip of water to come out to my friends, but my professors always had a full-fledged stream of water and knew everything. And sometimes you got those faucets mixed up, which is okay. And take your hospital bracelets off when you leave a hospital. So that's also a moral of the story. Don't rush. So now that we've gone through my life story, we're going to go into rapid, random questions that I'm super excited that are going to be quite juicy and entertaining and obscure. We're going to go through it and call it Empower with Laughter, because I assume I'm going to be laughing at most of these.
Empower with Laughter.
All right, all of these questions are thanks to the InvisiYouth community, our volunteers, our leadership, my board members, past and present, who have been submitting questions over the past couple months. And they are going to be some of the most requested questions, some of the most random, the most obscure, and questions that we get deep inside the DM box that are about life with illness or disability that I'm super excited about. They're the questions that nobody wants to attach their name to, most likely, hence the anonymous element of this. So like I said at the top, I don't know any of these questions, so let's have some fun with it. You know me, I will always make a joke and then teach you something in it. So let's do a learning moment with a laugh. So question one. Oh God, I saw the word alien and I just died. Okay. Do you believe in aliens? What do you think would be the first opinion about illness and disability from an alien? What do you think their opinion would be, better or worse? Oh my Lord. Okay. This went in a direction. Okay. Do I believe in aliens? Yes, I do. I think it's weird to assume we're the only things on the entire galaxy or in the entire galaxy. Walking around on the planet, I'm not exactly sure. I like to be optimistic, so I'm going to say, yeah, I would like to think there's some things here, but I do believe non-humans exist, Homo sapiens. I'm going to I'm a pessimistic optimist is how I like to describe myself. So I'm going to go optimistically. I'm going to hope that aliens would see people with chronic illness and disability and not see a difference. I would be curious if other species then had people with illness and disability. I would be more interested in learning if there's different types. That would be quite interesting, actually. And I mean, pessimistically, they had never seen it and would see me walking with my cane or my bruising or my stuttering or memory loss and would be very confused what is wrong with me. So pessimistically, they hate it. Optimistically, which I'm going to assume, I think they would be very open-minded and very quick to move forward and adapting, because I would assume intellectually they would just be on a different playing field than human reaction to illness or disability. So I'm giving a A+ to aliens. Why do you think people always ask and say, smile, it'll make you feel better? I mean, pessimistically, it's because the stereotype of chronically ill people are always suffering. So if we smile, it'll make it better for us and for you. That's the stereotype to answer. I mean, scientifically, if I go through this, scientifically, smiling will stimulate a boost in serotonin and cortisol, which is a benefit to your well-being. So from a science standpoint, there's benefits to smiling. I also think just personally, it is a subconscious switch to a negative situation if you try to smile. If you feel yourself going down the negative rabbit hole, I'll always try to make a conscious effort to be like, no, okay, pause, you're going into the deep and dark caves of self-loathing, pause. I'll always say that to everybody. Try to just pause, give yourself a break, smile at yourself. It's fine. But also recognize that there are many moments where smiling is not needed nor valid for yourself. Some experiences are quite crappy, and you should embrace those situations. As we always say, give yourself the Adele or Alanis Morissette 5-minute, supremely depressing or severely angered song moment and feel those feelings. Because if you're really, really mad and you just try to smile to make yourself feel better, you will not only feel weird, but you'll look weird. And we don't need that. So I think people stereotypically assume that we suffer quite a bit and they want us to smile, but you don't have to all the time. You don't need to, but there are benefits to smiling. What is a random behind the scenes fact of when you created InvisiYouth? Oh, okay. Well, most people know, if you've known our website or have heard me speak, I launched InvisiYouth a month after I graduated university. So I was only 22 when I launched InvisiYouth. Not always recommended, but I've enjoyed it, being a young founder and executive director now 6 years later. But, the color scheme, I was very involved in, obviously, in every single element of creating InvisiYouth, but it took a long time for me to figure out the colors of what InvisiYouth would be. So the gray and yellow kind of primary colors of the charity were not just because I like them. They kind of go in a twofold. If you know, this is how you will get to know my personality quite a bit. I really enjoy the charity being very androgynous, just in general, because we target just a age group, not a gender. So I wanted our colors to not seem steering towards male or female gender. And the gray was a key point in that. I also always felt that in the illness space, we're kind of stuck in the gray area when you're medically adultish, when you're in that teen and young adult. So we're always in the gray area. So I thought, well, let's give gray a more powerful point. So gray. And the yellow came from me really not only liking the color, but yellow is my colorology sign. It's my chi point because I'm an Aquarius. So yeah, it's my chi color. So it gives me a lot of calm. While I physically don't look good in yellow, which sucks when you try to get merch for your own nonprofit, that you look weird in it, it washes out the very pale skin that I have. The color was because it's my colorology, so it brings chi. So that was, yeah, random fact about that. If your chronic illnesses turned into a human, what kind of person would they be? What would their personality be like? Okay. All right. Well, the joy would be to take these illnesses out of my body and just turn them into a person. I mean, score one for me on that. Oh, man. Well, I would say it would probably be 2 or 3 people because Lord knows that would be a lot of power and a hella powerful person as a singular individual. So I'm going to say my illnesses would manifest into about 2 or 3 people. Well, physically, I'm going to say they're a lot taller than me. They're way more muscular than me because they need to, be more dominant, cause more pain, because with my illnesses, my body's in pain a bit more. I would say they would probably be wearing a ton of bright colors all the time, because that would just be so different than my staple of neutrals and blacks. They would be wearing wool because it would be itchy and having neurological symptoms that affect my sensory with my skin, that they would be wearing wool and trying to hug me because they know I like to cuddle all the time. Spiky jewelry maybe too. Yeah, there'll be like spikes on the shoes, spikes on their hands, jewelry, trying to hug me with the wool and the spikes. So it would be a little bit irritating to my skin. I would say they were very dominant and they liked getting their way just a tiny bit. Very kind of short, snappy commentary, but they would talk in circles. So I would get very confused. I would forget what they're talking about, probably quite a bit. Yeah. I mean, on a positive note, I'm going to try to be positive because then you just are painting a villain. And I would like to think my illnesses wouldn't be so mean to me as a human. I'm gonna say, they would be a little clingy because they would just like me so much and want to stay next to me all the time. But I would say, they're going to be very loyal. They're going to make a hell of a first impression. They've got some faults, but they really like to challenge me and will try to make me adapt to challenge me all the time. So I'm going to say they'll really try to challenge me. It would be kind of like opposites attract on that sense. Not that I would ever want to date my own illness, because that would just, I'm already in a long-term relationship with it at the moment, so we might not want to date them when they become a person. But yeah, I would say if they became a person, I'm already getting a visual. Bright clothes, physically dominant to me, multiple people, and yeah, really, really loves to take me on challenging days and clingy. That would be them. Oh yeah. Well, we don't want to hang out with them at the moment, so let's go to the next question. All right. Oh my God. What are my thoughts on safe wording? Is it just extra work or a benefit? Is this question meant for the show, guys? Oh my God. Okay. I'm reading into this. All right. We're gonna back up. Okay. I'm gonna just say yes to all, cover all of my bases real quick, guys. Yes. Okay. All right. I thought about it. Yeah, well, I'm going to say yes to it because, getting support and consent is very necessary and important. It's also quite attractive and sexy and fantastic in that realm. But safe wording when it comes to having an illness or disability, it's really good in outdoor situations. So having that kind of safe word with close family or friends or your partner you're in a relationship with, your boyfriend or your girlfriend, is really good in terms of when you're dealing with a flare-up or a side effect, having that kind of safe word, that kind of trigger word to them, or that phrase that they can look at you and know and go, okay, you need a break, you need to sit down, we need to leave. That's really beneficial. So I would say it's really good, because otherwise you're just going to push through the situation, even if you're in pain or you're not feeling it. So never thought I would say this for InvisiYouth, but yes, safe wording is very beneficial for everybody. Wow. Let's hope this next one is not like that. If you became a ice cream flavor, what would it be like, and what would you name it? Oh, like if I as a human, if I could be equated to an ice cream flavor. Okay. Oh, that sounds fun. I feel like a Disney Imagineer. Okay. Well, if I go just for my straight favorites, I love mint chocolate chip. That's green. So something that had mint chocolate chip in it would be great. If I'm just going by my own personal preference and doesn't describe me, yeah, I would go something mint chocolate chip. Dualities. I love things that kind of are dual. I think my personality as well. Like I said, I'm kind of an optimistic pessimist. I'm quite short and petite, but my voice is very deep and loud. So there's a lot about me that's quite dualities of the norm. So I would say I would need to have some sort of crunch, something that would be a surprise. So, oh, like those chocolate wafers that are in the middle of a Carvel ice cream cake. Yeah, I want those. Like in the middle of my layers of ice cream, or on the bottom or the top, I want those like Carvel chocolate crumb cookie crumbles, because they're good. But also, I feel like having a surprise crunch would be similar to my personality. There's a little bite and a little crunch. I think part of me really, really wants it to be like a soft serve ice cream, kind of like a frozen yogurt. If you have ever seen, you go to an ice cream parlor and they would take the frozen yogurt out of the machine and it would come out in a swirl, and it would be like vanilla bean, and it would have like a flavoring ring of bright color on it. Partly because I did have a nut allergy, so I was never allowed to eat hard ice cream, because if they contaminated the spoons, I always had to eat ice cream out of the machine. So I think my knee-jerk reaction is to go towards ice cream I'm allowed to get. But yeah, we'll do like a frozen yogurt, has chocolate cookie crumbs from Carvel in it. I would like something mint chocolate chippy. So either the flavor's mint chocolate chip, or there's little baby mochi, which is like a really fantastic, I believe it's Korean, but it's like an Asian dessert that's like ice cream wrapped in like a sweet rice. It's like little baby mochis in there. So it's like the soft ice cream, but like the hard mochi and crumble. Yeah, that would be kind of my ice cream, I think. Oh, if I had to name it, I mean, we could go with my tennis nickname. The Dominator is what my one coach called me, so that would be interesting. Ooh, we could call it Zenacious. That would be a good, like a Zenacious delight. That's my English major playing up with my SAT words. Zenacious is like this consistent desire and yearning to change and evolve. So I think that describes me, as I'm constantly trying to change and move forward with things. So I would say I could go very literary and say Zenacious delight, or I could just describe me and call the ice cream the Dominator. That would be a really nice flavor. Let's do that. All right, next one. What's the InvisiYouth stance on, in quotes, superficial side effects to illness or disability life being a trigger? Sometimes I get asked that sometimes I shouldn't talk about questions that are more superficial, i.e. hair loss or weight gain, because it's not life-threatening. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think, InvisiYouth this is a huge topic, especially for young people as a whole. I don't even want to say just for young women, especially for guys as well. These, in air quotes, these superficial topics that, if I'm talking chronic illness, but it's my hair loss or weight gain or it's acne, because it's not detrimental to my survival, it's not needed in a doctor's appointment, or it shouldn't be something that severely bothers me. So I like that the question was put with superficial in air quotes as well, because that's society making you feel like it's surface level, and definitely not the case. InvisiYouth is very much a non-illness specific chronic illness and disability charity. So our focus really is on day-to-day living. So that's really in our wheelhouse, definitely. So I know our stance on it is, say it's a superficial side effect to your illness or disability with pride, say it's just a non-life threatening element to it, but it affects your day-to-day. It's these non-essentials to your survival with your illness or disabilities still really affect your emotional well-being, to be happy while you're living with an illness or disability. So really, I think a big piece of advice I would give is always look for support and answers on topics that you think, oh, these aren't important in quotes enough to talk about or ask about. I know for me as well, I deal with my health issues, I deal with hair loss. So that's a super important topic for me, that I want to ask, but you don't think, because it's not killing you in that regard or affecting your actual quality of life. But yeah, I would look more in your social network, look in the community searching on social media, charities like ours, and really get good ideas of how they deal with these sort of side effects first. And then you can bring it up to your doctor second. I think that's really good. Is also, like I said, with the why effect earlier, really tell your medical professionals why these side effects are bothering you so much and why that is then going to affect your quality of life, and put that importance on it. It's other people telling you it's superficial, not that it actually is. So really go to your community first, go even sort of secretly on social media, see what other people might be doing more homeopathically or integrative medicine wise, and then bring those things forward, I would say is probably really a really good way of doing it. Y'all, I'm getting called out in these questions. How do you actually pronounce your name? Wow. Okay. All right. That's hitting deep for 8-year-old Dominique, who could not get anyone in class to pronounce her last name correctly. So nobody could spell either name. Nobody could pronounce it. So technically, it's Dominique Viel. It's, as I say, first letter, last letter. That's the Italian way of pronouncing my name. But I tell people Dominique Veil because it's like a veil you wear, because it's easier that way. Fun fact is, because Dominique is so hard for people to spell quickly, if I go to Starbucks, my nickname is Susie. So if I go to Starbucks, I always tell them my name is Susie. But yeah, pronouncing is hard, guys. It's like even with illnesses and disabilities, every syndrome out there, we have the hardest terms to, it's like you go the medical community and medical terminology. Why you got to do us so dirty in this and make it even harder for people to understand when they cannot pronounce the names of our illnesses or disabilities or syndromes or procedures? Make the names easier to spell and say, because then it would be easier to explain to people. It just feels like a tangent that wasn't necessary. Oh my God. Okay. I'm going to keep going on that if I don't. Okay. Thanks for that question, guys. Jeez. Oh my Lord. Okay. What's the hardest part about being a boss by yourself? Any advice for newbies? Okay. Oh yeah, that's true. I mean, I give so much advice when I'm being interviewed on other podcasts or panels, or just speaking to a lot of young people. When you're chronically ill or disabled, a lot of times the avenue of entrepreneurship is brought up. Obviously, I'm a philanthropist, so from a business perspective, I went in a very different direction. But I would definitely say probably the hardest part is remaining accountable to yourself when you don't have a staff around you, when you don't have a boss above you, when you don't have other people and colleagues. That accountability factor tends to be very different, and you have to set it. So it's really, really important to set those reminders for yourself and those hard limits for yourself and hard deadlines. the flexible ones are needed when you're chronically ill or disabled, especially when you're by yourself as an individual working. I've had to learn how to make that tweaking. I am still learning to be organized and scheduled, and have that changing. That's my biggest piece of advice, is be comfortable changing the way you organize your schedule. That's like super important for so many people to do, is knowing that the way you schedule and organize your life is different and evolves all the time. That's really, really important for you to do. So I would definitely say doing that is critical. I mean, my best piece of advice is really, that would definitely be it. Just knowing that you're able to constantly change, and knowing that setting up parameters of organization, scheduling, reminding, whether that's apps, physical calendars, combinations of everything, setting hard limit deadlines versus soft limit deadlines is really important to learn, and it takes time. I mean, we're 6 years into InvisiYouth and we're coming up with a whole new scheduling organization structure for myself now, and that's 6 years later. So it's really important to know you can always change and schedule and reorganize things. It's really, really important. What kind of non-illness experience would you say exemplifies this kind of life? And no, it can't be a roller coaster. All right. I was totally not going to pick a roller coaster. If you're looking at the camera, you know my face says that I totally was. So this person either knows me or knows that chronic illness and disability is a journey. When you're young, you tend to describe it as a roller coaster for ups and downs, twists and turns, drop of the stomach. All right. I can't pick a roller coaster. Okay. Magic show. Yeah, I'm gonna go magic show. But like an interactive kind of America's Got Talent, Britain's Got Talent, that kind of magic show. I want the illusionist in there that's gonna completely confuse my mind as I'm trying to pick answers. I want the daredevils that are gonna make my physical well-being feel questioned, that physically I'm gonna feel like there's no rules, there's no clues, I might be in pain. Because when you're chronically ill, for myself, my journey, this journey requires pain in it, unfortunately. It's like a blind taste test. Like I'm constantly blindfolded and trying to navigate what meal is being put in front of me and ride with it and work with it. And there's so many surprises. I mean, there's good surprises and bad surprises. And I think in a magic show, there's definitely a bunch of that. You don't really have a clue of the direction. There's no rules. And that would be, I would say what exemplifies this life that's not a roller coaster is a magic show. So you want to describe your illness or disability to a relative, you tell them it's just like living in your own personal magic show. And you are the only one raising your hand to be the guest. Last question. Oh, okay. You end every episode asking your guests, what is their best piece of advice? So now it's your turn. What's the best piece of advice you would like to pay forward that you feel can change someone's perspective on life? Oh, man. My favorite piece of advice to give is definitely when I always tell everyone your illness or disability should not be your competitor or your enemy, but they need to be your teammate. And they need to be the one that you are on the same team with. You are playing alongside them. You are working with them. They're not always going to make the same decisions you would make. Sometimes they're going to make bad calls that lose you points, and you can be mad at them, but you're both going towards the same end goal. They are your body. So you are symbiotic in that. You need to know that you're fighting for your own success and they are your teammate. It's a switch in your mindset to realize they're not against you. They're not your enemy. They're not trying to beat you. There's moments where they do, and they are the better teammate, and they actually cause you pain on my end, literally. But it's very, very important to try to keep that mindset of knowing that they are playing alongside you. You're succeeding with them, not in spite of them. So if you try to always focus on that, even in the bad days, it really does allow you to work with your chronic illness or disability and not in spite of it. So I would definitely say your illness and disability is your competitor, not and they are not a competitor. They are your teammates. So always remember that. Guys, that is the end of this solo episode. That was fun. That was weird, but fun. I enjoyed it so much. I'm excited that I got to do one with just you guys and hanging out with you for an episode. I thank everybody who my team collected all of these anonymous questions and topics from. I'm going to try to figure out who some of you people maybe are asking some of these questions, but I'm glad you got to know me better. I'm glad we got to throw out some InvisiYouth theories, teach you some things, and I'm excited we told you a couple sneak peeks of what's coming ahead for InvisiYouth, that you'll get to see our new resources. So that was exciting for me to reveal. And yeah, definitely, like I said a few times already, but it's going to pop up in lots of lights on our YouTube channel if you see it. If you haven't already, please download and subscribe to InvisiYouth Charities channels. Please go onto our YouTube channel, hit subscribe, go onto any audio podcast platform like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, go there to any of those and subscribe. You'll be getting now 2 episodes every month coming up soon for our 2 different shows, which will be exciting. It really helps InvisiYouth, and also following us on our social media at InvisiYouth on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You'll get up to date on all of our evolution, all of our new programming, our new schedule, and which will be very exciting. And thank you guys for spending an episode with me. I hope you had fun. I hope you learned a bit along the way of laughing with me or at me, depending. And next time, you will be getting me with my special guests again on a chat show where it's not just me chatting. So thanks, everybody, and I will speak to all of you soon. Bye.